It's hard to believe that the original Resident Evil 2 came out over 25 years ago. Thanks to GOG, fans are able to relive a more remastered version of the loved classic, giving players that never really played it a chance to experience this near-perfect title, while also allowing previous fans a chance to play it once again. Although the graphics and gunplay are outdated because it's clearly an older game, but it still feels great. I've played the original Resident Evil games, but not enough to say that I'm very familiar with them. I was very young when I played the original 3 games, but I wasn't old enough to necessarily remember a lot of those things, mostly just the traumatic situations that happened in them. I'll put it like this: old enough to understand video games, but way too young to have my hands on a horror game. Even though I loved them, they scared me so much. So I would mindlessly play the beginning parts of the game, like finding the first zombie in the mansion in RE1, make it to the police station or the liquor in RE2, and making it to Nemesis in RE3. That was pretty much it. So having the chance to play RE2 while I'm older and actually play through the entire game without any issues was a blessing. Memories of things that I forgot about while playing came rushing back, with a ton of unfamiliar things as well. I say this because with Resident Evil games today, I typically become a little desensitized to the actual horror in those games because I've played them so much. You just get used to the jump scares, or you know what's going to happen, so it doesn't really impact you in the same way. So playing the OG RE2, I was able to rekindle that feeling while playing. Sure, I remembered some of the beginning things like where the liquor is, Leon and Claire being split up, etc. But after those events, it was clear I really didn't know what I was doing, where I needed to go next, or what awaited me in the coming halls of RPD. That sense of unknown was a great feeling to have again while playing RE2. From my experience, I'm way more familiar with the RE2 remake, so I was kind of comparing things from that. The best way I can explain my experience for both is that they're their own games, and they both do what they were made to do excellently. But before I get too far into the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video. The support is always much appreciated. I started my first playthrough with Leon Kennedy, who I think is the best protagonist of the RE series. Something about him being a rookie cop thrown into the madness that was Raccoon City just feels right with the story that Capcom is trying to tell. I think it helps form a connection between Leon and the audience with what they're establishing. What I mean is that this is new territory for Leon as well as the player. Sure, one can argue that this is a sequel, which means the players have already lived killing zombies in the mansion. But this is different. A citywide outbreak with no hope. The fear of the virus getting out from the first entry, RE1, came to life. It pushed the boundary of we can't let this virus or the research leave this mansion or lab, to the outbreak has reached the city, there's no hope left. That's the eerie feeling that's established early on, looking for any sign of life, hope, anything. So Leon, being the rookie cop that he is, uses his instincts and judgment to tell Claire to head to the police station. It'll be safe there. Surely, if there's any hope left, it'll be RPD. Well, in a way, he's not wrong. But mostly, it was the naive rookie cop talking. It seemed like Leon wanted to believe that there was still hope left for survivors. That's what makes Leon so likable from the jump. You make your way to RPD, pushing through the mindless, flesh-eating corpses along the way, making a pit stop at Kendo's gun shop, who nearly shoots you. Once he quickly realizes you're human, he lowers his guard, locks his door, and invites you in. You scavenge what you can, but soon realize zombies have broken in through the glass, devouring Kendo and leaving you, the player, to quickly realize that this is inevitable for remaining survivors in the city. Now, apparently at this point in the game, you could pick up the shotgun. I tried this in my trial run to make sure the game would run well before I started recording. I played like 10 minutes, tried to get the shotgun, died, and just quit, which is why you see me completely disregard the shotgun and leave the gun shop. I truly love the moaning echoes throughout the city that you hear in the background when you're traversing outside. It adds more to that empty feeling because it makes you feel like they're all around you. Even if you can't see them, you see the same reoccurring theme. It's empty, no sign of life. And as you progress to RPD by unlocking doors, collecting items, and reading journal entries left behind by previous survivors, you encounter one of the most iconic enemies in the franchise, the Licker. Terrifying in almost every way, these creatures are agile, tough, and remarkably strong. They can quickly kill you or deal enough damage to create panic. However, there are many ways to combat them or even avoid them if you time things correctly, like just simply walking past them. As long as you don't get in close or accidentally run while walking past them, you're fine. This does mean they will still be waiting for you the next time that you decide to traverse through that hallway or room. Now, After leaving this hallway, this is where things begin to feel real for me. The area of unknown that made me excited and kind of nervous. I wasn't really sure what to expect when it came to this part of the game and onward. In true RE fashion, you finish puzzles, read entries, especially ones that I've never seen before, and exploring areas of interest, like the star's office. I loved reading what the text had to say about everyone's desk areas and how they were connected from the first game. It had that perfect blend of keeping everything connected, but not doing too much in terms of overshadowing what was happening in the sequel. So just a disclaimer as well, I didn't look up anything about the game while playing until after I was either finished with that section or when I completed the game altogether. I wanted to play through everything completely open-minded. So I didn't realize that you could open up one of the lockers in the star's room, which is where you find the shotgun, a helpful weapon, especially if you're like me and failed to obtain it from Kendo's gun shop. So I explored a decent amount of RPD without it. I was wondering how long it was going to take to find one, so backtracking and clicking or interacting with every surface or locker helped me realize it was there all along. I was just too stupid to realize it. This helped me access that east hallway that's filled with zombies by clearing them out with a shotgun. So I continued to solve more puzzles, meet Marvin, Ada, Ben, and running into Birkin. And I have to say, everything was paced very well. I know RE games are typically short for their replayability, but I never felt like you were in an area for too long. Making your way to the sewer where you play as Ada, back to Leon fighting the alligator, which something that I read about after beating the game was that this fight is kind of optional. You can just run from the alligator. Now, if you do that during the respective character in scenario B, they'll have a tougher time fighting the alligator where you didn't fight them in scenario A. So in my scenario B run, I was able to finish the alligator off with just a pistol in just about no time. Plus, you can grab an SMG or an inventory pack to increase your overall inventory slots. You can grab both in scenario A, but it's told to you that you should save it for the other character. Take one item and save the other one for the other character. So spreading it out between Leon or Claire, or making your current run easier. I love this so much. They made decisions like this so casual as you played, but it had bigger impacts later on, depending on what you decided to do or not do. I can only imagine how people during the prime of OG RE2 reacted to these game mechanics. But going back to the story, the lab was probably the most frustrating part for me. Now, I enjoyed it, but I did struggle. Mainly because I would forget to save, even though I'm what I would say a seasoned RE player. Just not having played OG 2 or 3 a lot, I would just become overly confident in my abilities and become overwhelmed. I also quickly realized that if there are in-game cutscenes between characters, you can't skip them. The one with Annette Birkin at the end had me fuming after I watched it for the 7th time. I also have to add, Leon is really a terrible human being, and I'll explain. He checked her pulse at this part to see if she was alive. So after watching this, I came to one of two conclusions. Leon's either really bad at checking for a pulse, or he realized she was still alive, shook his head, and left her to die. She later comes back, shoots Ada, then actually dies. I also chuckled when I saw him karate chop the floor. I mean, it wasn't funny after the 7th time. But the first time I watched it, I did laugh. It's a good scene, some okayish voice acting, but the karate chop really just makes this so unserious. Still love the game though, and just kidding about Leon. They could never make me hate him. So the self-destruction sequence is activated after this. Leon makes his way to the train car to escape, fights Birkin for the last time, makes it on the train car, and happily ever after, right? Nope. To get the true ending, you have to play through the B scenario as the other player, which I thought was great. Now, I know the remake did this, but I just love this mechanic so much. The only issue was that you're redoing a lot of the same puzzles the same way with the same items. Only real big difference being Tyrant finally appears and stalks you a little throughout B scenario. There are a few different unique areas for Claire than there was for Leon, like Chief Irons' office and torture dungeon, but watching Irons get manhandled by the Force gods so that Birkin could grab his leg was funny and deserved as well. Also, seeing Birkin for the first time in B scenario was probably my favorite entrance for him of the two characters. There were also a few different areas in the lab too. Fighting Birkin on the train lift happened again, but you can see the hole that Birkin made when he hit Ada in the arm when you played as Leon. So again, Capcom was very consistent in keeping the stories connected in situations like that. You progress through the lab, killing the vine monsters, zombies, lickers, and Tyrant once again. The cool part about this ending was that Claire is the one that actually powers up the train to get out of there. while plugging in the power connectors, you have to wait for the train to regain power, which in turn leaves you to defeat Tyrant one final time. After that, Knucklehead got bamboozled earlier by one of the oldest tricks in the book. Who would have thought that Lava would have activated his final form? But you deal with him, regroup with Sherry, back at the train, start it up, and see a tightly butt-clenched Leon jump on the train, which is how the first scenario ended. The surprise being, Birkin still isn't dead. He's on the train with you, which has activated a self-destruct sequence by itself. So, timeout. Just who designed this lab and train? Like, my god. What is their fixation on self-implosions? It's almost like they wanted these things to get out just so that they could use these fireworks. But anyway, the true final boss of the game is located at the end of Scenario B, with some actual cutscenes you didn't get to see in Scenario A. Leon says some cheesy line again, you stop Birkin, stop the train, everyone escapes, and then explosion. There's a nice, wholesome moment between everyone about how they made it, but Claire has to go and ruin the moment by saying it isn't over yet, which she was correct, because there turned out to be approximately 10 plus more evil residents after the events of this game. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the original RE2. I'm so glad that GOG brought these games back to life, including RE2, obviously. I plan on playing through the other two as well. I just wanted to play RE2 the most, which is why I'm making a video about this one first. There's just a lot to love about this game in terms of content as well. There are 4 different scenarios that you can play in RE2, Leon A and B, as well as Claire A and B. It just adds way more variety to which version you want to play through, and again, just adds that extra layer of replayability the series is known for. Plus you have many other extra modes you can play as well, like 4th Survivor, where you play as Hunk, in a timed game mode where you try and escape. But in terms of gameplay, everything felt pretty snappy. The voice acting isn't the greatest either, but it still isn't unbearable. If anything, it's almost laughable at times, which makes it a little bit more enjoyable, and it kind of adds to the charm of the game. The first game's voice acting was way worse though, and that brings me to my next point. I love the way that RE2 took advantage of the success of RE1. They improved so much from the first, except for puzzles, I'd say. They were more of just a thing you needed to do in RE2 as opposed to the first one. But the direction, pacing, combat, expanded lore, and characters just took a leap forward with RE2. Taking a risky approach by going away from the theme of the first game in the mansion to an entire city outbreak with characters that weren't even in the first game. Yeah, there are connections there, but it was definitely the riskier move adding new characters to this game instead of bringing back Jill or Chris for this sequel. All in all, it's still a great game that holds up, as long as you don't let the graphics or cheesy dialogue and voice acting steer you away. Or if you have no way to actually access like a PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 version of the game, I highly recommend playing the OG RE2 on GOG. Well, that's going to do it for this video about the original Resident Evil 2. For everyone watching, have you played the OG games or just the remakes? If so, let me know which one you started with. I love hearing everyone's experience with these games, and also, which do you prefer or like more? Comment down below to let me know. So again, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. The support is always much appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.